Hello. So today I'm going to teach you about crochet and how crochet works through the mechanics of knitting, because both knitting and crochet are very similar in that all you're doing is just pulling loops through other loops, but the techniques that you use to do that and the tools that you use are different. So I'll start by making a slip knot and casting on one stitch to our needle, and I'm just going to knit this. And without turning it, I'm just going to knit it again. I'll just keep doing that. And you can see that I'm making a length of knit stitches coming off my needle. And if you take a look at them, you can see that they look just like knit stitches. We just have our single row of V's coming down like that. And so in crochet, this is what's known as a chain stitch. And this is how essentially the cast on of crochet. So if you take a closer look at what you're doing, I'll start that again with a slip knot. And if I show it closer up, what we're doing is inserting the needle here, wrapping the yarn, and by knitting that stitch, we are just pulling a loop through that second loop. And if we do it again, we now have one loop here. I put my needle through, put the second needle through, wrap the yarn, and then this right needle is just pulling a loop through the other loop. This act of pulling up loops, which you do in crochet, like picking up and knitting, or in knitting, the pick up and knit stitch, is one of the main mechanics of crochet. So if we take our crochet hook, then we can make this process a lot simpler by simply inserting our hook, which acts as the right needle, yarning over the hook and pulling it through. If you do that again, just yarn over and pull it through, yarn over, pull it through, and you can see that we've developed the same chain, which looks just like knit stitches, this series of V's. So you can see that there's how they're pretty similar. So if we move on, I will show you the single crochet stitch. So I have this crochet swatch, and you see it's just a few rows of single crochet. And what I'm going to do is put my needle into it. Another thing you might notice is that the way you hold the yarn when you're crocheting is in your left hand, which, if you're familiar with continental style knitting, it is the exact same grip. You can even imagine I'm holding my two needles like this and working in crochet, but we just need the one. So one of the fundamental differences between crochet and knitting is that in crochet, what you're essentially doing is picking up stitches and then binding them off immediately, and that's what makes crochet very modular. You do it one stitch at a time. You only have one loop on the hook, or in this case on the needle, and you just kind of make stitches as you go, and you don't have to worry about dropping stitches or anything like that, like in knitting. So like I said before, one of the main mechanics of crochet is picking up and knitting. So you can see here, I'm going to go into this first stitch, and I'm going to pick up a stitch, which, just like in regular knitting, you just insert the needle and pick up a loop. So now what I'm going to do to finish this crochet stitch, like I said before, you pick up the stitch and you immediately bind it off. So to do that, you're going to yarn over, and then using your other needle, you're going to pass those 2 loops over this one. So I'm going to take this loop and pass it over the yarn over, and then take the second loop and pass it over as well. And so what we've done is actually make 1 crochet stitch. So I'll try that again. Pick up a knit, yarn over, and then pass these 2 loops over it. Pick up a knit, yarn over, and then pass over twice. And since every crochet stitch is pretty much just a variation of that, you can see that pick up and knit and the 2 passovers are the 2 main mechanics of crochet, but you can see that with just your needle, picking up a stitch can get kind of awkward, and passing over is also very tedious. Just trying to get this loop through both of them like that, which is where your crochet hook comes in, because with this hook you can make both processes very easy. So just pick up a loop using this hook, yarn over, and the hook itself can keep this loop from flying off the needle, and after you yarn over you can just easily pull it through both loops. So this is pick up and knit, yarn over, and then by pulling this first loop through these ones, you actually get your passover. So for the last one, you can see I'm going to yarn over, and then here I'm actually passing it over. So that is how crochet works, and so you can see you can actually crochet using knitting needles. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate one more technique, which is the double crochet stitch. The last one that I showed is the single crochet, so here is the double. With the crochet hook, what you would do is yarn over, pick up a stitch, yarn over and pass it through 2, yarn over and pass it through 2, and you can see that the stitch ends up being a lot taller. It has this big post. So again, pick up, yarn over, pass through 2, yarn over, pass through 2, see, and so we have this new row of double crochet, which is a lot taller than our last ones. So for knitting needles, we can do the same thing. So you start by yarning over, and then picking up a stitch. And then you're going to yarn over and pass over 2 stitches. Yarn over and pass over 2 stitches. And so here we have our knitted double crochet stitch. So you can see that both knitting and crochet are this very similar, and it's just the different techniques that you use that make them different. So again, crocheting is just picking up a stitch and then immediately binding it off, and by changing that you can make your different crochet stitches. So hope you now have a better understanding of crochet, If you don't already know how to crochet, I recommend it because it's very useful, especially for making small stuffed animals and things that require structure. Because of the modular nature of crochet, it's really easy to make shapes and 3D things. So, and also it looks very different, and some people might like that look.